Hey everyone, welcome to the Next in Time podcast. I'm your host, ST, and our guest today is Walter Grain, who is the founder and CEO and the owner of Grain Funding. His core mission is focus on funding startups and big businesses with basically rates as low as 0%. And he's someone who's passionate about taking destiny in your own hands and is willing to help businesses grow. So, Walter, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you, ST, and looking forward to some good fiery questions and some good fiery answers.
I know, but I'm just always going to start off with just a couple of what I call the water cooler chat. Yeah, that's how I do
Right.
my other podcasts out there. But I just wanted to know more about what makes you really tick in terms of why do you want to help all these businesses out there?
That's a good question, and a good answer would be it's because I like to help people. I've always been in a position throughout the course of my whole sales career, customer service career, general manager career is to help folks and to help folks get to the next level. Have had several jobs in the past where I would actually hire people that were more talented than I was, and that were more smart than I was, because you know what? I wanted them to advance to the next level, which makes me look good, which helps me to advance to the next level. So I'm trying to take that theory and put it towards Grain Funding. Grain Funding is a company that I established last year. It was April of last year, and I really felt that it was a good thing to come up with, is because there's a lot of people over the course of the past couple of years who are becoming entrepreneurs and never been entrepreneurs before. They don't want to go back to they want to go back to corporate America, or when corporate America tells them that they have to come back into work because they just have to and sit in the cubicle. They don't want to do that. So a lot of people
Oh,
out there that need some help.
yeah, I can relate because I'm still kind of working from home in a way. I've got the opportunity to do so. And, going back to core, if I ever had to be pulled into the office, it would not be a pleasant moment for me.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
but
exactly.
the advantage of I would always say working from home is the fact that you could, at least budget your time in terms of everything you need to do rather than, having to go to work and then you have to be able to sit on your for your laptop, get, only focus on what you're supposed to be doing when in reality you can also budget your time. When you're at home, you can budget your time, you can focus on getting your things done at work and then at the same time do your other projects at this and
Yeah.
be able to accomplish things much faster than, let's say, if you're at the office, because you're when you're at the office you have a lot of people out there just you got the managers looking at you saying, hey, why are you now focusing on work?
Right, exactly. That is true. That is definitely true, and that's what attracts a lot of people to being an entrepreneur, because you get a lot of things done from home that in the past, when I was out there pounding the streets in the '90s, cold calling and so on and so forth, which is the most inefficient way to do it. Now you have digital marketing, you have podcasts, you have all sorts of mediums that can help you to to get sales and also help to close them.
Yeah, do you feel like the future is remote?
Yeah, the future is here now. Maybe, according to us, maybe not Elon Musk, but according to us, the future is here. People don't want to go back into the office. They're so used to being at home, and there's studies out there that say that if companies that let their people do what they need to do because they are adults, do what they need to do, they're usually a lot more productive. They will actually work longer hours, because you figure that if somebody has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're on the road by 5:45, 6 o'clock. They get to work by 7:30 if they want to be early. And usually here in Atlanta, you have to be out there that early, otherwise you'll get caught in traffic. You'll be late for work. And then you
Yeah,
get to work, you're already upset because people are honking at you and cutting you off and so on and so forth. And you get to work, you got to walk upstairs, or get on the elevator and go upstairs, and you got to sit in a cubicle all day. That's pretty pleasant, you know.
yeah,
And then yes, I think that the future is here now, and I think that the future will continue to be remote work, no matter what that work is, customer service, sales engineers, whatever it might be. And I think
yeah.
that definitely it's a good thing.
Yeah, barring any sort of work that really requires you to be in person, I think corporate offices, they could use a bit of downsizing. They could save more money at the end and be able to
Yeah.
still pay their employees better wages.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And the thing is that I was saw, I saw something on TikTok. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this lady had 3 jobs. There are 3 at-home jobs, but they're all at different times, so it didn't conflict. So she's getting 3 different checks every Friday, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're basically out there with what you're building with Walter Grain funding. That's right, Grain funding is
Right?
trying to encourage that in a way, right?
Yeah, definitely trying to encourage that. The thing is that there's so many people out there that have really, really good ideas. I run into a lot of people that have a lot of smart, smart ideas, and some things that can actually change the way that we operate. But the thing is that you have individuals, you have people who just are trying to fight against that, and you have a whole generation action, and the millennials are like, nah, I'm good, man. I'll take my software engineering in engineering degree and go somewhere else. This has never happened before in the history. I literally, corporate America, don't need you. That's what's
Yeah,
happening right now. And there's a lot
yeah.
of people and a lot of companies out there that really don't like that attitude.
Well, before we go into your business and really get to know more about what you really do,
Mhm.
let's get to know more about Walter Grain himself. Like, tell me about yourself, like your background, what made you wanting to become the financier that you are right now.
That's a really good question. I'm originally from Chicago. Moved down here 31 years ago this month, which is January. What's the date? It's January 16th or something like that, 17th, whatever it is. Let me look at my phone. It is, yeah, January 17th. Yeah, January 17th. So 31 years ago. And I came down here from Chicago because I did not want to be in Illinois anymore. Not that the weather was a factor. I mean, it was kind of a factor, but I just did not want to be up there anymore. I've been up there my whole life. Went to school, University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, played basketball there. And once I got done with all that, went back home, had a job, didn't really particularly like it very much. So it was right before the Olympics were announced.
Hmm.
Okay. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go down to Georgia. And my dad lived down here at the time. Actually, he still does. He lives in Roswell. He's 85 years young now. But I gave him a call and said, "Hey, can I come on down and hang out with you and see what happens in a couple of months?" He's like, "Yeah, come on down." So I stayed with him for a couple of months, and then went out on my own. But what kind of led me up to this was basically what I did throughout my whole career. I've been involved in sales whole career. I've been involved in helping people get different sorts of products. We laid down a lot of they didn't call fiber at the time. They called it T1s and OC3s at the time back in the 90s. So I sold a lot of those in order to start the deal frenzy. And then I went into after that went into phones, did phones for Nextel, and then because I moved away from Atlanta in '99, came back in 2004, and then
Right.
started my own entrepreneurial company at that particular time in Smyrna, Georgia.
Like,
And so
where were you living in those 5 years?
I lived in Minneapolis for 3 and Green Bay for 2. I lived in Minneapolis for 3 because the company that I was with called WorldCom, and if you don't know what happened to WorldCom, look it up. Just type in WorldCom, and they literally misplaced $7.4 billion. And
Right.
so that company went out of business, and then I got a nice little severance package, and then went and worked for Nextel, and then Nextel was bought by Sprint. So I was like, yeah, maybe we should move back down to Atlanta. So we moved back down to Atlanta, and I started my own company called Signs by Tomorrow. Had that from 2004 to 2011, and that was really my first venture into being an entrepreneur. And it
So
was a thrilling. It was pretty thrilling, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
so what was like you felt like you wanted to do your own thing after just this corporate disappointments that you've dealt with, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I did my own thing because I figured that it couldn't be that hard being an entrepreneur because there was a lot of people out there that that I was a lot smarter than. At least I thought that I was. And then I went into it. But come to find out that it's not just 9 to 5. It's usually a lot more longer hours than that. I wasn't when I was in corporate America. I was 550 right now. I'm already home. I wasn't doing any work. But you know what? I enjoy it. I really really do enjoy it. I love to get in there, create your own stuff. I love the process. The process is going to lead to something, something hopefully big down the road.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, yeah, because in a way that you're seeing how, yeah, corporate, like how you transition from being a corporate person to an
Right.
entrepreneur. It's like the one thing you can always get is that you get to have the flexibility to be yourself compared to, let's say,
Right. Exactly.
you have to compare to being a servant, yeah,
Right, right, right. Exactly,
uh,
because that's exactly what you are. The thing about it, corporate America doesn't give a crap about you. You know what I'm saying? They don't care at all. They want you to go in there. They want you to spin the cog, and then if you stop spinning the cog or you get your finger stuck, you're fired. Get out of here. They don't care. I mean they don't. But you know what? All businesses in the world are entrepreneurial businesses. It's just that some are bigger than others. Um,
yeah. I think
and
there's a saying like everybody is an entrepreneur at heart. Like there's I think some guy, I forgot the name. I think there was someone who always said that there are 8 billion entrepreneurs around the world.
right, right, exactly. Because the thing is that, but there's probably also maybe half of that. There's also half those people that didn't do it because somebody said that's a stupid idea. Why would you do that? Oh yeah, you're probably right. I should probably just go down the street and work at the factory turning widgets. Ooh, what fun that is. No, you need to do your own thing. That's what I try to encourage people to do is, hey, do your own thing. Do your own deal. Somebody else might think it's crazy. I might think it's crazy, but I'm not going to tell you. But the fact of the matter is that, do you believe in it? If you believe in it, knock it out.
Right. And so about now that you created your own business and sold that in 2011, right? Or you
Well, yeah, well, actually, the economy hit, so I had to actually close it up. But I would have loved to sell because we're actually doing pretty good. The unfortunate thing is that the economy at that particular time was not very favorable towards, I guess you say, marketing at that particular time because we did signs, so we did a lot of signs and for whether it be for corporate, whether it be for realtors, whether it be for some average Joe down the street, we did a lot of this stuff. But you know what? The good thing is that I did learn a lot of lessons from that. I learned a lot of lessons from that, and those lessons are still in my soul today. And that is make sure that you monitor your business. Make sure you follow trends. Make sure you listen for things. Make sure you read a lot of stuff because I'm preparing myself right now for either we're in the recession or about to go in the recession or whatever. And I tell people all the time, say, hey, you need to make sure that if you are looking to get yourself a loan or any other service that might be out there, you need to get it now because if you don't, it might be a little bit too expensive during the recession time because it's happening. It's coming. So
yeah, and also now that you're now from that moment from then till you when you started green funding, what was that interim period like for you?
the interim period after that, I actually got myself another basically corporate job after I got done with Signs by Tomorrow, and then eventually I went up a company called Lighting Plastic Solutions. Well, Lighting Plastic Solutions is they're a company out of Tampa, and they do LED, they do lenses, they do all sorts of stuff in order to help electricians, plumbers, people of that ilk if they need to have a solution for a customer that needs to have an LED retrofit and so on and so forth. That business has been around since 2000. I'm sorry, since 1997. I got in there and worked in there for about 5 years, 6 years, and then unfortunately got laid off because of COVID in 2020. And I know it's 3 years later, or almost 3 years later, but I did a lot of things in between doing grain funding for about a year and a half or two. I actually did some stuff on eBay, which I sold a lot of gloves on eBay. So I just purchased some gloves and sold a bunch of gloves on eBay the first 3 months of the pandemic. Then after that, the store started getting them in, along with along with the hand sanitizer stuff. And then after that, I said, well, I'm gonna start doing solar. So I started doing solar. So solar for about a year. That went okay. And then I said, you know what? What's the economy wanting? What do people want? So I started reading things about, about millennials and about Gen Xers. Like, I'm not going back to work for Google. I'm not doing this. I'm doing my own thing. I say, you know what? A lot of these people are going to want to start doing their own businesses. So there's been a huge influx of people over the course of the past two almost 3 years of people that want to work for themselves. So I just said they need money. So let me find an option that can help them to get money for a startup or whatever.
So how are you able to measure those people saying, okay, I'm interested in becoming an entrepreneur or something like that? How are you able to measure that? Like
Well, well, as far as measurement is concerned, with data that is currently out there, I just went off a field, to be honest with you. I just saw a lot of articles about people leaving their companies and saying, screw you guys, I want to do my own thing. I want to open my own software firm. I want to open my own engineering firm. I want to open my own, fix a computer firm. That's what I want to do. I want to do my own networking. I was like, this is really quite interesting. So then, in order to find those people, I had to have the mindset that I will do whatever it takes for me financially in order to get realization. Some things I didn't want to do. Some jobs I didn't want to do. Whatever, it didn't matter, because that's my dream. And the dream is to be happy at what you're doing. I'm happy with what I do. I'm happy to loan somebody X amount of dollars, and they look at me and they say, thank you very much. I appreciate you, because now I can take my dream and further that. And I think that's pretty freaking awesome.
Makes sense. And so now that you started Walt Grain Funding, and how do you really structure this whole thing in terms of like offering funding to these businesses and startups?
That's one thing that I think that separates me from the average bear, is the fact that I actually like talking to people about their businesses. And the reason why I talk to people about their businesses is because I want to make sure that I put them in the right category in order to help them to get the funding that they need. I go to about seven different companies, and out of those 7 different companies, they have about 75 to 100 entities that they go through. So effectively, I have 500 to 700 individual banks and credit unions and so on and so forth that I can go to, but just through these companies. So I sit down and talk to them. We formulate a plan, and then we kind of go from there. If they happen to be, if their credit is not that good, I do have some options for that. But if they're like, no, I don't want to go that route, I really need to think about the long term, then I have referrals out there, people that I can refer them to in order to repair their credit, whether it be personal, business, or both, and in a legitimate way. And then they come back to me, and we start the process all over again.
And so what have you been, what types of businesses have you been putting yourself with in terms of offering this funding opportunities?
I mean, all businesses, because the thing about it is that all businesses need money, all of them. So I don't hone myself into a niche market. I've done roofing companies. I just actually talked to a guy who repairs fire trucks. And I just talked to him probably about an hour ago. I did funding for a restaurant. I done funding for one of my friends who lives in Alpharetta. He has a turf grass company. I did funding for him. So it's a wide gamut, because what it really comes down to is that people need money in order to either to maybe get out of debt, or they need money to advance their business. And that's what it really comes down to. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not trying to grow your business, then you're probably not going to be very happy.
Yeah, and where do you see, how are you able to partner up with these major lenders? So especially because I've seen some lenders who are offering 0% down, a 0% interest rate.
Right.
And how are you able to build those relationships with those people?
Well, I found a lot of those individuals on the internet, and then in doing my research as far as articles are concerned, and making phone calls to some of their customers and so on and so forth, based on Google reviews. All the companies I'm with are about 4.8 to 4.85 and above as far as their Google rating. So they're actually very, very good companies. A lot of them. I think that the least one has been around for 10 years. The most I think is like 20, 25 years. So they've been around for a long, long time. So it's not just some fly by night kind of deal where there's somebody says, hey, I got a bunch of banks that are going to help you out, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden they fall by the wayside. So these companies have been properly researched, and I know most of the CEOs of those companies as well. So.
And why do you see that? Okay, what's the one thing that a lot of these lenders are really offering 0%? Because I mean, usually because now with interest rates going up everywhere you go, even mortgage
Right.
rates are going up, even let's say business rates. I know they're a little bit lower because everyone needs to invest in, people want to invest in businesses to help them grow. But why specifically 0%?
0% interest, which is a plan that I have for one of my companies, one of the companies that I basically consult for. They are trying to reward people that have good credit. Okay, if you have basically a 680 credit score and better, you're more likely going to qualify for that. And the reason why they do it is because they want to reward people for doing what they should do. Okay. Now this 0% interest is anywhere between 9 and 15 months. Okay. It's not cumulative. So in month 16, you're not getting a big balloon payment and then interest on top of that. It's literally 0% for up to 15 months. In month 16, if there's a balance that transfers over, then whatever you agreed upon with the company that I do business with, whatever you agreed upon, then they will then they will then you have to pay that plus interest. So it really helps out, especially startups, because usually startups have to be around for a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years. You literally don't have to be around at all. I mean, yeah, if I say, for instance, if somebody, Joe Smith, came out and said, hey, you know what, I got an idea for a business. Okay, what is it? It's XYZ. Think I can get some funding? Yep, let's go. Boom.
It's like, what are some examples of successful businesses that you have managed to fund?
The one restaurant I managed to fund. It's a restaurant. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of it. I'll think of it in a few minutes. But it's St. Louis. It's in St. Louis, and he was looking to spruce up his restaurant. It's actually a very popular restaurant. Of course, I can't remember it now. Jerk City or something like it. It's basically jerk type cuisine.
They're basically
Jamaican.
Jamaican. Yeah.
Yeah. And he I met him on Facebook, and he's like, yeah, I am looking for a loan in order to improve my location, and then eventually down the line I would like to open up a second location. So I got him approved in about 3 or 4 days. He got his money in a week. He renovated his restaurant in about I don't know, probably 2 weeks to a month, because he was kind of doing it slow. And he also did some rebranding, and now he's even better than he was before. So he's pretty happy with all that. Another business that I funded was actually my friend's business. I got him a 0% interest business line of credit for $200K, but also his credit score was 804, and he'd been in business for 18 years. So he got a $200K, no uncollateralized business line of credit.
So is the approval process highly dependent upon the credit score, right? If it's high, then the approval it's just immediate, like it's an immediate like lending, versus let's say if your credit score is low, then you have to go through 100 different hurdles before you officially get approved for that.
Right.
For that
Exactly.
for that funding. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's why I have many different options, because everybody didn't have a perfect credit score. It's and I want to make sure that those people are taken care of. Yeah, would the interest be a little bit higher? Sure. Would you maybe have to make weekly payments? Sure. But the fact of the matter is that if you have yourself a dream, and you kind of run yourself into a snag, and you can find a way to get out of it, then I'm a type of person who's going to possibly help you out.
Okay, and let's say for business, let's say for this, for example, I'm going to put a scenario right here,
Okay.
and I'm just going to say I'm a business owner. I have 800 credit score, 804, as you mentioned earlier.
Right.
I get a loan. I basically get approved for a loan
Right.
at a very low interest rate. And let's say, for example, if that business fails to like in the next couple of weeks, what do you and I'm not able to owe the money back to you. Um,
Mhm.
do you normally sell the business to you, or what's the case? Or do I have to just, let's say, do I default and my credit score just like crashes?
Yeah, I mean it's like anything else. I mean that's what happens. I mean they'll probably go to collections, or if they can pay it off, that's up to them. But the good thing is that with that 0% interest, that can carry on for 15 months, okay, and it's not going to go up. So say for instance you spend $10,000 in your first month, all right, and the monthly payments on it are anywhere between 150 to $200 per month for the next 15 months. So let's say, for instance, you did have a bout of bad luck, but you're still paying it month by month by month because you got yourself another job, or you got yourself a third job, or whatever it might be, or you come up with another plan, another entrepreneurial plan that all of a sudden, bam, you put up an e-commerce site selling whatever, and it's taking off, you know and then you just kind of go from there. But what happens if it's the other end of the spectrum, and you have to go back to corporate America? You can afford 150 to $200 a month. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then you can worry about the interest payment in month 16, and then kind of go from there. So it's just a matter of budgeting. But yeah, if somebody says, screw this, I'm not gonna pay, then yeah, it acts like anything else.
Yeah, basically everything just crash. It just your credit score crashes. You're no longer like subject to approval for another loan for anything, and that
Correct.
makes got it. And so right now, what is, let's say, and you've been working with startups, right? So have you were you able to see if any success were to happen with it?
You know what? That's actually a great question. It's probably something I should probably do is follow up with some of those people. But I haven't honestly, I really haven't followed up with them. So actually, that I guess that needs to be my mission in 2023
Yeah.
is to follow up with these people and say, hey, well, by the way, how are you guys doing? You know?
Well, you need it's always, I mean, startups are a more difficult thing than, let's say, a business that has predictable revenue streams.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. One business that I didn't get an opportunity to fund because they chose to do something else. But it was a company that was going to be freezing. What was it? It wasn't, no, they weren't freezing. They were doing something with DNA or something like that. It was to help people in their generation further down the line, like diseases they have now, help them combat that in the future. It's actually a pretty doggone cool idea and very futuristic. But they chose to go a different direction because they wanted to get equity partners and also VCs and stuff like that. So
And also, where do you now, in these next couple of years, like especially with the economy still kind of like going up and down, like where do you see grain funding going the next couple of years?
well, I see us being a multi-million-dollar company with many different entities going in different directions. I see myself there right now because we've just now expanded to do land purchases, flip and fixes, flip and rents. Also, I did my first quote for a dispensary out in New Mexico because it's legal out there, and they're looking to make a killing out there for their particular brand of marijuana, and they're I think they're trying to get a loan for like 150 to get themselves a shed built, and they're just going to go gangbusters. Actually, he's already involved in it. He has a bunch of land out there, $800,000 worth of land, and he is just going to have dispensaries all over the place. So, so it'll definitely be a coup. You can earn some good money doing that kind of stuff.
Makes sense. All right, cool. So I think we're just gonna wrap up this podcast, and just want to thank you, Walter, for coming
Yep.
on the Next in Time podcast. And hopefully, with what you're doing right now, will make a massive impact in the world of business.
All right, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.